everyone. As always, life is unpredictable. We have changed gears and we will be splashing in just a matter of days. And poof, just like that, we're now over on the Baja side. It's been a couple weeks since we splashed and I need to bring you up to date. In the last episode, I left you with 3 ongoing projects: our new stanchions, the potable epoxy for the water tank, and the cabin electrical rewiring project. Starting with the stanchions, Omar, our welder, took the formerly deck-mounted stern stanchions and welded a stainless elbow to the original stanchion to enable it to be fitted to the bulwark. There is a slight swelling where the elbow meets the original stanchion, but it is a great solution at a far less cost than replacing the entire stanchion. He did a beautiful job, and it is only if you know to look closely that you can tell it has been welded. Omar also provided stainless backing plates for the outer side of the bulwark, which Lee bedded with 4200. Now all the stanchions are the same style, and water intrusion through the cord deck will no longer be a problem. It turns out, when we had our topsides painted a couple of years ago in La Paz, the color was not Seattle gray as advertised, as there is a huge disparity between my application of the Interlux Seattle gray and the color applied in La Paz. With the leftover kiwi grip from our teak removal project, I renewed the texture on the section with the newly repaired deck, making the texture more aggressive as we often come up from the kayak with wet feet. The kiwi grip squeeze bag is very convenient, and it is fast and easy to renew or cover up stains or dings on the deck. Even though the color from the bag appears much lighter, it darkens with time and matches the rest of the non-skid texture. We have been very pleased with this product.
To be honest, it does actually make
I
you
am
look
taller than you. Well, maybe I'm your same height now.
When our youngest daughter, Beverly, came for 2 weeks at Christmas time, we took some time off to get together with friends and enjoy the parade of lights in San Carlos, and also take in some other sights around the area. The yellow paint on La Brisa was getting sun-bleached and oxidized, and Beverly helped me sand and prep for new paint. Here, it is hard to recognize La Brisa wearing the coat of white primer without her distinctive yellow. It took multiple days of climbing up and down the ladder painting before she began to look more like herself. With Beverly's departure and me occupied with the yellow paint project, Lee began work on the water tanks. For our 2 40-gallon water tanks, Lee ordered the smallest amount available from Brewcoat, a manufacturer of brewery and potable water tank epoxy liners. The coating consists of equal parts of resin and hardener, and Lee found it was like spreading ooey gooey honey. It probably would have been best if we had had disposable graduated containers large enough to accommodate both the resin and hardener instead of our individual 1-cup glass measures. Luckily, the Brewcoat has a long pot life and does not develop an amine blush. Initially, Lee used a paintbrush to coat the rusty spots, corners, and seams. After allowing the seams to dry overnight, he rolled on the initial coat using the provided roller cover which he cut down to fit the tight confines of the tank. It was slow going painting every tank's surface, as our tanks have 2 center baffles, dividing the tank into thirds. You will note Lee is wearing 2 sets of gloves, with the veterinarian exam gloves underneath the chemical-resistant gloves to protect his arms as he reached into the far corners of the tank. No matter how hard he tried, he ended up with epoxy in his hair, on his face, and even on the table. It was truly messy, but after 2 coatings, the interiors of the tanks are smooth and rust-free. The tanks were filled and flushed with fresh water twice before use, and if you wonder what Lee is doing in the introductory scene, he is washing out the dirt in the sail tracks while flushing the water tanks. Brew Coat is another product we are very pleased with. Our tanks look great, and we have good drinking water.
Using a dab of grease, I put a grease on the bolt to have so the socket will hold it in place as I screw it in. I've lost too many nuts and bolts down in places they cannot be retrieved to sort out that. With a syringe, I input the oil right into those holes.
As for our electrical rewiring project, that was put on hold when our friend Steve told us he had a narrow window of time in which he and his wife Terry were available to make a crossing with us, something we have wanted to do with them for a long time. So that is how it came to be that instead of a lengthy stay in the now empty yard, we changed gears and began preparing to splash. The airport in Hermosillo does not have a cell phone parking lot, and I found myself joining the queue in the Mexican version of a cell phone parking lot, while Lee went inside to wait outside of customs. With our new water pump and the water system back online, we found ourselves dealing with several water leaks, possibly as a result of the higher water pressure and possibly just due to water hoses having sat and hardened through the hot summer. Steve was great at fixing the leaks, and I found myself with a new non-leaking kitchen faucet, thanks to Steve's willingness to install it. As always, it is hard to say goodbye to all our friends remaining in the yard. John and Christy, who arrived in the yard in early January, came by to say goodbye the night before our splash. I wished I could say our splash went without a hitch, but that was not the case, and we ended up overnighting at the yard slip while dealing with another leak and loose starter battery connections. Join us in the next video for further adventures afloat. So until then,